In the vast, quiet reaches of deep space, the exploration vessel Eclipse drifted silently through an uncharted sector. The ship was old but reliable, its crew a mix of seasoned veterans and eager newcomers. Captain Ryan Carter stood on the bridge, his sharp eyes scanning the monitors that surrounded him. He was a calm man, known for his steady leadership, but even he couldn't ignore the growing tension aboard the ship. Supplies were running low, and morale was beginning to dip. Everyone was tired, longing for a break from the endless void. Lisa Bennett, the communications officer, sat at her station, her fingers moving quickly over the controls. She was young, with a curious mind and a knack for picking up faint signals. Her headphones rested snugly over her ears as she listened intently to the static-filled silence of space. Most days, her job was routine checking frequencies, monitoring transmissions, and logging data. But today felt different. There was something in the air, a sense that something unusual was about to happen. Ryan approached her station, leaning slightly against the console. "Anything yet?" he asked, his voice calm but tinged with hope. Lisa shook her head. "Nothing clear, Captain. Just the usual background noise." She paused, adjusting a dial. "Wait, there's something here. It's faint, almost like it's being blocked." Ryan straightened up, his interest piqued. "Can you clean it up?" She nodded, focusing on the task. After a few moments of fine-tuning, a distorted voice crackled through the speakers. "Help us, before it's too late," the message repeated, broken and fragmented, but unmistakably a plea for assistance. The bridge fell silent as the crew processed what they had just heard. For years, humanity had searched for signs of intelligent life beyond Earth. Now, here, it was a distress call from somewhere in the depths of space. It wasn't just a random signal. It was a cry for help, one that couldn't be ignored. Ryan turned to his senior staff. "Gather everyone in the briefing room. We need to decide what to do." Minutes later, the team assembled around the table. Daniel Harper, the science officer, was already deep in thought, his glasses perched on the edge of his nose. He tapped a pen against his notebook. Samantha Sam Myers, the ship's engineer, crossed her arms, her expression skeptical. Emma Doyle, the medic, listened quietly, while Lucas Hayes, the head of security, leaned back in his chair, his hand resting on the hilt of his sidearm. Ryan began the meeting. "We've picked up a distress signal. It's coming from a nearby star system. Whoever sent it is asking for help." Daniel spoke first. "This could be humanity's first contact with an alien species. We can't ignore it." Sam frowned. "But what if it's a trap? We don't know who or what sent it." Lucas nodded in agreement. "She's right. We're running low on supplies as it is. If we go chasing after this signal, we might not make it back." Emma chimed in softly. "Still, think about it. If someone out there is in trouble, and we have the chance to help, isn't that worth the risk?" Ryan listened carefully to each opinion. He knew the decision wouldn't be easy. On one hand, following the signal could lead them into danger. On the other, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make history. Finally, he made up his mind. "We'll investigate," he said firmly, "but we'll proceed with caution. Sam, check the ship's systems and make sure we're ready for anything. Daniel, analyze the signal further. Try to pinpoint its exact location. Lucas, prepare the crew for potential combat scenarios. We leave in 2 hours." As the team dispersed, Ryan stayed behind, staring at the map of the star system displayed on the wall. He couldn't shake the feeling that this mission would change everything for better or worse. The signal had been weak, almost as if it didn't want to be found. Yet, here they were, drawn to it like moths to a flame. Back on the bridge, Lisa continued to monitor the transmission. She replayed the message over and over, trying to catch any hidden details. Each time, the same phrase echoed in her mind: "Help us, before it's too late." The words sent a chill down her spine. Whoever had sent the signal was clearly in dire straits. But why now? And why them? The questions swirled in her head, unanswered. All she knew was that the eclipse was heading toward the unknown, and there was no turning back. As the ship adjusted its course, the crew prepared for what lay ahead. Supplies were double-checked, weapons were readied, and every system was tested to ensure peak performance. Despite the uncertainty, there was a sense of purpose in the air. They were explorers, pioneers on the edge of discovery. Whatever awaited them, they would face it together. The journey to the source of the signal took several hours. As the eclipse approached the star system, the crew gathered on the bridge, their eyes glued to the view screen. Before them loomed a barren planet, its surface scarred by craters and fissures. A dying red dwarf star cast a dim reddish glow over the landscape. Ryan gave the order to land. "Let's see what we're dealing with," he said, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. As the ship descended, the crew braced themselves for the unknown. The distress call had led them here, to this desolate world. What secrets did it hold? And more importantly, what dangers? For now, there were no answers, only questions. But one thing was certain: humanity's arrival had begun, and the stars would never be the same again. The eclipse touched down on the barren planet, with a soft thud, its landing struts sinking slightly into the dusty ground. Outside, the landscape stretched endlessly in every direction, a desolate expanse of gray and red hues under the dim light of the dying star. The air was thin and unbreathable, forcing the crew to don their environmental suits before stepping out. Captain Ryan Carter led the way, his boots crunching against the rocky terrain as he scanned the horizon. Behind him, Lisa Bennett adjusted her helmet's visor, while Daniel Harper carried a handheld scanner, its faint beeping breaking the eerie silence. Sam Myers brought up the rear, carrying a toolkit slung over her shoulder. She glanced around, uneasily, her sharp eyes taking in every detail. "This place gives me the creeps," she muttered through the comms. "Feels like no one's been here for centuries." Daniel nodded, though his attention was focused on the scanner. "It's possible. These ruins look ancient." He gestured toward towering structures, half buried in the dirt and debris. They were jagged and asymmetrical, their surfaces cracked and weathered by time. Some parts still shimmered faintly, hinting at advanced technology long abandoned. Lucas Hayes, ever vigilant, kept his hand near his weapon as he surveyed the area. "Stay sharp," he warned. "We don't know what's out here." The team moved cautiously toward the largest structure, a crumbling tower that loomed over the others. Its entrance was partially blocked by fallen debris, but Ryan signaled for Sam to clear a path. Using a small plasma cutter, she worked quickly, slicing through the rubble until they could squeeze inside. The interior was dark, the only illumination coming from their suit lights. Dust hung in the air like a fine mist, swirling with each step they took. "This place is incredible," Daniel said, his voice tinged with awe. He ran his gloved hand along a wall covered in strange symbols patterns that seemed to pulse faintly under the light. "These markings, they're not just decorative. They might be some kind of language or code." Lisa stepped closer, snapping photos with her wrist-mounted camera. "Do you think you can translate them?" "I'll need more time," Daniel replied. "But if we can decipher this, it might tell us who sent the distress signal and why." As they ventured deeper into the structure, the atmosphere grew heavier, almost oppressive. Emma Doyle shivered, despite the warmth of her suit. "It feels wrong," she whispered, "like we're intruding." Ryan shot her a reassuring glance. "Stay focused. We're here to find answers." They soon reached a large chamber at the heart of the building. In the center stood a pedestal, its surface etched with the same glowing symbols they had seen earlier. Atop the pedestal rested a crystalline device, humming softly with energy. Daniel approached it carefully, his scanner buzzing excitedly. "This is unlike anything I've ever seen," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "It's emitting A low-frequency pulse similar to the distress signal we picked up. Could it be the source? Ryan asked. It's possible, Daniel replied, but we need to be careful. Activating it without knowing how it works could have unintended consequences. Before anyone could respond, the ground beneath them trembled slightly. A low rumble echoed through the chamber, followed by a series of clicks and whirs. From the shadows emerged several robotic drones, their metallic frames glinting in the dim light. Their design was alien, insect-like, with multiple limbs and glowing red sensors where eyes should have been. Hostiles, Lucas shouted, raising his weapon. The drones hesitated for a moment, then charged forward with surprising speed. Take cover, Ryan barked, diving behind the pedestal as the first shots rang out. The drones fired bursts of energy, their attacks narrowly missing the crew. Sam crouched beside Ryan, pulling a compact EMP device from her toolkit. If I can get close enough, I can disable them, she said. Go, Ryan ordered. We'll cover you. Lucas and Emma opened fire, keeping the drones occupied while Sam darted between cover points. Her movements were quick and precise, years of training evident in her agility. Reaching the nearest drone, she activated the EMP, holding it close as the machine froze mid-motion, sparks flying from its joints. 1 down, 3 to go. Meanwhile, Daniel worked frantically at the pedestal, trying to interface with the crystalline device. I think I can use this to amplify. Hour comes, he said. If I can boost the signal, maybe we can send a message back to the ship. Hurry, Ryan urged, narrowly avoiding a blast from another drone. The battle was chaotic, the confined space making it difficult to maneuver, but slowly, the tide began to turn. With Sam's EMPs and the combined firepower of the team, the remaining drones were neutralized, leaving the chamber eerily quiet once again. Breathing heavily, the crew regrouped around the pedestal. Daniel tapped a few commands into his datapad, syncing it with the device. Okay, let's see if this works. He pressed a button, and a holographic display flickered to life above the crystal. The image showed a humanoid figure, its features distorted but recognizable. It spoke in broken English, its voice strained and desperate. Help us, before it's too late. Lisa leaned forward, her eyes wide. It's the same message we intercepted earlier. The hologram continued, showing flashes of destruction cities burning, skies darkened by swarms of ships, and creatures that looked both familiar and alien. Then came a warning. They come, they consume. You must stop them. Ryan frowned, turning to Daniel. Who are they? And what does this mean? I don't know yet, Daniel admitted. But there's more. He pointed to coordinates, flashing briefly at the end of the transmission. That's where we need to go next. Emma crossed her arms, her expression troubled. You think this is leading us into a trap? It might be, Ryan said. But we don't have a choice. If there's even a chance we can help or prevent whatever disaster this is, we have to follow it. The team exchanged uneasy glances, but nodded in agreement. They had come too far to turn back now, after collecting samples and securing the crystalline device for further study. They made their way back to the eclipse. As the ship lifted off, the barren planet shrinking below them, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. On the bridge, Lisa plotted their course based on the new coordinates. The destination was deep within uncharted territory, far beyond anything humanity had explored before. The journey would take days, perhaps weeks, depending on how fast they could travel. What do you think we're going to find? Sam asked. Breaking the silence, Ryan stared out at the stars, his jaw tightening. Something big. Something dangerous. Whatever it is, it's already shaken the galaxy and we're right in the middle of it. For now, all they could do was prepare. The crew worked tirelessly, checking systems, calibrating weapons, and reviewing the data they had gathered. Each of them knew the stakes were higher than ever. They weren't just explorers anymore. They were messengers, soldiers, and possibly saviors. Humanity's arrival had begun, and the stars themselves seemed to tremble in anticipation as the eclipse sped toward its unknown destination. The weight of their mission settled heavily on everyone's shoulders. There was no turning back now. Whatever awaited them, they would face it together. The journey to the new coordinates was tense and quiet. The crew of the Eclipse worked tirelessly, preparing for whatever they might encounter at their destination. Each member had their role, but the weight of uncertainty hung over them like a storm cloud. Captain Ryan Carter spent most of his time on the bridge, staring out at the endless expanse of stars. He replayed the holographic message in his mind, the desperate voice echoing in his thoughts. "Help us, before it's too late." Those words weighed heavily on him. Who were they trying to help? And what exactly were they racing against? Lisa Bennett sat at her station, her fingers flying over the controls as she monitored the ship's sensors. She had been analyzing the crystalline device they brought back from the barren planet, hoping to uncover more clues. So far, the data was fragmented, but she noticed patterns repeating in the symbols etched into the crystal. It reminded her of Earth's ancient languages, symbols that carried meaning beyond their shapes. She wondered if this alien language held secrets about the mysterious warning or the coordinates they were following. Daniel Harper joined her, holding a tablet filled with notes. "I've cross-referenced the symbols with known databases," he said, his voice low but excited. "Some of them match patterns we've seen in other parts of the galaxy, but others are completely unique." "Do you think it's a map?" Lisa asked. "Maybe," Daniel replied, "or instructions. Either way, it's advanced stuff. Whoever made this was light years ahead of us." Their conversation was interrupted by an alert from the navigation console. Ryan turned his attention to the view screen, where a cluster of stars appeared, glowing brighter than the surrounding void. They had arrived at the destination marked by the coordinates. What they saw next took everyone's breath away. In the center of the star cluster floated a massive structure, a sphere, so large it dwarfed even the biggest planets. Its surface shimmered with iridescent colors, reflecting the light of nearby stars. Surrounding the sphere were smaller ships, sleek and insect-like, moving in synchronized patterns. The sight was both beautiful and terrifying. "What is that thing?" Sam Myers whispered, her voice barely audible over the coms. "I don't know," Ryan admitted, his eyes fixed on the view screen. "But it's not natural." Lucas Hayes tightened his grip on the weapon strapped to his side. "It looks like a fortress. Or a trap." Emma Doyle stepped closer, her medical kit slung over her shoulder. "Whatever it is, it's alive. Look at the way it pulses, like it's breathing." Ryan nodded. "We need answers. Lisa, can you scan it?" Lisa worked quickly, her fingers dancing across the controls. "It's emitting some kind of energy field. I'm picking up traces of organic material mixed with technology. This thing isn't just a machine, it's alive." Daniel leaned forward, studying the readings. "That explains the drones we encountered earlier. They're part of this system." Ryan made his decision. "We're going in. Prep the shuttle. Daniel, Lisa, and Emmy are with me. Lucas, stay here and keep the ship ready, in case we need an extraction." The team moved swiftly, boarding the shuttle and strapping in for the descent. As they approached the sphere, its surface rippled, almost as if it sensed their presence. A gap opened in the shimmering shell, revealing a tunnel leading inside. Without hesitation, Ryan guided the shuttle through the opening, the walls closing behind them as they entered. Inside, the environment was unlike anything they had ever seen. The walls glowed softly, pulsating in rhythm with a low hum that resonated through the air. Strange tendrils hung from the ceiling, swaying gently as if alive. The floor beneath them was smooth but uneven, shifting slightly as they walked. It felt less like stepping into a building and more like entering the body of some colossal creature. "This place is giving me the creeps," Emma muttered, clutching her kit tightly. "It's like we're walking through a living organism." Daniel scanned the area, his expression a mix of awe and unease. This confirms it. This sphere is a hybrid of biology and technology. It's not just a construct, it's a being. As they ventured deeper, the team discovered chambers filled with strange artifacts. Some looked like weapons, others like tools or pieces of art. In one room, they found rows of pods, each containing a humanoid figure suspended in a gel-like substance. The figures were pale, their features obscured by the liquid, but they bore a striking resemblance to the hologram they had seen earlier. "These must be the ones who sent the distress signal," Lisa said, her voice trembling. "They're still alive, or at least, they were when they were placed here." Ryan frowned. Why would they lock themselves away like this? Were they hiding from something? Before anyone could answer, the ground beneath them quaked violently. The walls began to shift, the tendrils retracting as the chamber transformed around them. From the shadows emerged several tall, skeletal creatures. Their translucent skin glowed faintly, revealing intricate networks of veins and circuits beneath. Their elongated limbs moved gracefully, almost hypnotically, as they surrounded the humans. One of the creatures stepped forward, its hollow eyes locking onto Ryan. Then, without warning, a flood of images and emotions surged into their minds. Pain, fear, desperation, all of it crashed over them like a tidal wave. Lisa staggered, clutching her head, while Daniel dropped to his knees, overwhelmed. Even Ryan struggled to stay upright, his vision swimming with flashes of destruction and chaos. "They're communicating," Emma gasped, tears streaming down her face. "They're showing us everything." Through the mental assault, fragments of understanding began to emerge. The creatures called themselves the Veil. They were refugees, survivors of a war that had ravaged their civilization. The Karvak, names sent shivers down their spines, were a predatory race, bent on consuming all life forms to expand their hive mind. The Veil had fled, seeking sanctuary, but now they were trapped within the sphere, unable to escape. "They need our help," Daniel managed to say, his voice strained. "They want us to stop the Karvak." Ryan steadied himself, meeting the gaze of the Veil leader. "Why should we trust you?" he demanded, his tone firm despite the chaos in his mind. The response came as another wave of images, visions of Earth. Cities burning, skies darkened by swarms of ships. Humanity's future, if the Karvak were left unchecked. "We don't have much choice," Lisa whispered, her voice shaking. "If we don't stop them, they'll come for us next." Ryan hesitated, weighing the risks. Trusting these aliens was dangerous, but ignoring their plea could doom humanity. Finally, he nodded. "Tell them we'll help. But if this is a trick, we won't hesitate to fight back." The Veil leader inclined its head, a gesture that seemed almost human. Then, as suddenly as they had appeared, the creatures retreated, leaving the team alone in the pulsating chamber. "Well," Sam said, breaking the silence as they returned to the shuttle, "that was intense." Ryan didn't respond immediately. His mind raced with questions and possibilities. They had come seeking answers, but now they carried the weight of an entire species' survival on their shoulders. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain: humanity's arrival had shaken the stars, and there was no turning back. The shuttle carrying Ryan, Daniel, Lisa, and Emma docked back inside the Eclipse, its metal frame humming softly as it settled into place. The crew stepped out, their faces pale and drawn from the encounter with the Veil. Despite the alien leader's assurance of cooperation, none of them felt entirely at ease. The images they had seen, the burning cities, the endless swarms of Karvak ships, lingered in their minds like a shadow they couldn't shake. "Captain." Ryan Carter wasted no time calling another meeting on the bridge. He stood at the center, his arms crossed as he addressed the team. "We've made contact," he began, his voice steady but heavy with responsibility. "The Veil are refugees fleeing something called the Karvak. These things are hunters, predators that consume life to grow their hive mind. If we don't stop them, they'll come for Earth next. Sam Myers raised an eyebrow, her practical nature kicking in. You're saying we're supposed to take on an entire alien race with one ship? Ryan nodded. That's exactly what I'm saying. We don't have much choice. The Veil claim they can help us modify our weapons and defenses to fight the Karvak, but we need to act fast. They gave us coordinates to intercept the enemy fleet before it reaches this sector. Lucas Hayes frowned, leaning against the wall with his arms folded. And you trust them? What if this is all just a setup? Maybe they want us to lead them straight to humanity. Daniel Harper stepped forward, clutching his tablet tightly. I understand your concerns, Lucas, but think about it. The Veil could have attacked us when we entered their sphere, but they didn't. Instead, they shared information. Not just any information. They showed us their memories, their fears. That level of vulnerability suggests they're telling the truth. Emma. Doyle nodded slowly, still visibly shaken from the mental intrusion. They're scared. Lucas. Terrified. Even. Whatever the Karvak are, they're more dangerous than anything we've ever faced. Lisa Bennett added, and let's not forget the hologram we found earlier. It warned us too. This isn't just the Veil's problem, it's ours now. Ryan looked around the room, gauging the mood. His crew was tired, wary, and understandably skeptical, but there was also determination in their eyes. They knew the stakes. Humanity's survival might depend on what they did next. All right, he said finally. Here's the plan. Sam, work with the Veil to upgrade our weapon systems. Focus on energy shields and targeting arrays. They mentioned those would be critical. Daniel, keep analyzing the crystalline device. See if there's anything else we can learn from it. Lisa, monitor communications. If the Karvak are nearby, we need to know immediately. Lucas, prepare the crew for combat scenarios. Train everyone who can hold a weapon. What about me? Emma asked quietly. You'll stay ready, Ryan replied. If things go south, we'll need you to patch people up quickly. And keep an eye on the Veil. Make sure none of them try anything sneaky. With orders given, the team dispersed, each member focusing on their assigned tasks. Over the next several hours, the Eclipse buzzed with activity. Sam worked tirelessly alongside two Veil technicians, their translucent hands moving deftly over the ship's exposed circuits. At first, communication between them was slow and awkward, relying heavily on gestures and fragmented translations. But as the hours passed, a rhythm developed. Sam marveled at the efficiency of their technology, which seemed to adapt seamlessly. Two human systems. They're good, she admitted to Ryan during a quick break. Better than I expected. If we survive this, maybe we should consider hiring them. Ryan smirked faintly, but didn't respond. He knew better than to get comfortable. Trust was earned, not given freely. Meanwhile, Daniel pored over the crystalline device in the science lab. The symbols etched into its surface pulsed faintly, almost as if responding to his presence. Using a combination of scans and manual input, he managed to unlock new layers of data. Fragments of star charts appeared on his screen, along with notes about the Karvak's behavior patterns. One piece of information stood out. The Karvak operated through a central core, a massive neural hub that controlled their hive mind. Destroying it would cripple their entire fleet. This is it, Daniel muttered to himself, excitement bubbling beneath his calm exterior. This is how we beat them. He rushed to share his findings with Ryan, who listened intently. If we can locate their core and disable it, we might stand a chance, Daniel explained. But getting close enough won't be easy. Their drones will swarm us. We'll figure it out, Ryan said firmly. For now, keep digging. There might be more clues hidden in there. On the bridge, Lisa monitored the ship's sensors, her eyes darting between screens as she tracked nearby energy signatures. So far, the Karvak hadn't appeared, but she knew it was only a matter of time. The tension gnawed at her, making it hard to focus. Still, she forced herself to stay alert, knowing that even a moment of distraction could cost them everything. Elsewhere, Lucas led combat drills in the cargo bay. The crew practiced forming defensive lines, firing simulated bursts at holographic targets, and coordinating movements under pressure. Sweat dripped down their faces as they pushed themselves harder than ever before. No one complained. They understood the gravity of the situation. As preparations continued, the Veil remained mostly silent, observing the humans with an air of quiet curiosity. Occasionally, one of them would approach Emma, mimicking gestures or attempting rudimentary speech. She responded patiently, teaching them basic words and phrases. Slowly, a fragile bond began to form, a tentative alliance forged in the face of mutual peril. By the time the eclipse reached the designated coordinates, the ship hummed with newfound power. Its shields glowed brighter, its engines ran smoother, and its weapons bristled with potential. Yet, despite the upgrades, unease lingered among the crew. They were heading into unknown territory, chasing rumors of a threat they barely understood. When the navigation console pinged, signaling their arrival, Ryan ordered the ship to drop out of faster-than-light travel. What greeted them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Before them stretched a vast expanse of swirling energy, a black hole surrounded by debris and wreckage. Orbiting the chaos was a massive fleet of Karvak ships, their insectoid designs glinting menacingly in the dim light. "There must be thousands of them," Lisa whispered, her voice trembling. Ryan clenched his jaw, his resolve hardening. "This is it. Everyone, to your stations. We're going in." As the eclipse approached the fleet, the Karvak ships turned toward them, their movements synchronized and deliberate. A chilling sense of inevitability settled over the crew. This was no ordinary battle, it was a clash of civilizations, a fight for survival against an enemy that viewed life itself as a resource to exploit. "Prepare for impact," Ryan commanded, his voice cutting through the tension. "Let's show them what humanity is made of." The first wave of Karvak drones surged forward, their glowing red eyes locking onto the eclipse. Energy blasts lit up the void as the humans fired back, their upgraded weapons slicing through the enemy ranks. For a brief moment, hope flickered amidst the chaos. But then, the true scale of the Karvak's numbers became apparent, and reality hit hard. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and the stars trembled in response. Whether they would rise to meet the challenge or fall beneath the weight of it remained to be seen. The battle erupted with a deafening roar, the silence of space shattered by bursts of energy and the worry of Karvak drones. The eclipse shuddered under the relentless assault, its newly upgraded shields holding firm for now. On the bridge, Captain Ryan Carter gripped the railing tightly, his knuckles white as he watched the chaos unfold on the view screen. Streams of enemy ships swarmed around them like angry insects, their glowing red sensors locking onto the human vessel with terrifying precision. "Shields at 75%, Lisa Bennett called out, her voice strained but steady. Her fingers flew across the controls, rerouting power to reinforce the weakened sections. "They're targeting our engines. We can't let them disable us," Ryan barked. "Sam, how are the weapons holding up?" In the engineering bay, Sam Myers was crouched beside a sparking console, her face streaked with grease. "The upgrades are working, but we're pushing the systems too hard. If this keeps up, we'll burn out the cannons. Then make sure they don't," Ryan shot back, his tone sharp but not unkind. He trusted Sam implicitly, knowing she would do everything in her power to keep the ship running. Lucas Hayes stood near the tactical station, coordinating the crew's defensive maneuvers. His voice boomed over the comms as he issued orders to the gunners stationed throughout the ship. "Focus fire on the lead drones. Don't let them flank us." Emma Doyle moved quickly through the corridors, her medical kit clutched in one hand. She had already treated 2 crew members injured during the initial wave of attacks. Their wounds were minor burns from stray energy blasts, but Emma knew worse injuries were inevitable. Still, she pushed aside her fear, focusing instead on keeping everyone alive. Back on the bridge, Daniel Harper analyzed the incoming data, his eyes darting between screens. "Captain, I've isolated the signal coming from the Karvak fleet. It's originating from a massive ship at the center of the formation." "Their core?" Ryan asked, his voice tight with urgency. Daniel nodded. "Almost certainly. If we can reach it, we might be able to destroy it." Ryan turned to Lisa. "Can you plot a course through the swarm?" She hesitated, scanning the chaotic battlefield. "It's risky, but I think I can guide us close enough. We'll need to take evasive action constantly." "Do it," Ryan ordered, "and tell the Veil to stay ready. We might need their help soon." As Lisa adjusted the ship's trajectory, the Eclipse surged forward, weaving through the dense network of enemy ships. The Karvak responded instantly, redoubling their efforts to stop the intruder. Energy blasts hammered against the shields, each impact sending tremors through the hull. Alarms blared as critical systems flickered, but the crew held their ground. Determination etched into every face. In the cargo bay, Lucas led a group of soldiers armed with portable EMP devices. They waited anxiously for the order to deploy, knowing their mission could turn the tide of the battle. "Stay sharp," Lucas reminded them. "We only get one shot at this." Meanwhile, aboard the Veil sphere, the alien refugees monitored the conflict with a mix of hope and dread. Their leader communicated telepathically with Ryan, offering guidance and warnings about the Karvak's tactics. Through fragmented images, the humans learned that the central core was protected by layers of defenses, including automated turrets and waves of elite drones. Breaking through wouldn't be easy. "We'll need to disable those defenses first," Ryan said after receiving the intel. "Lisa, once we're in range, target the outer turrets. Lucas, prep your team to board the core ship as soon as we create an opening." The plan was risky, bordering on reckless, but no one argued. They all understood the stakes. Failure meant annihilation, not just for the Eclipse, but potentially for humanity itself. As the Eclipse closed in on the Karvak flagship, the intensity of the battle increased tenfold. The enemy ships formed a tight blockade, attempting to cut off the humans' advance. But the upgrades provided by the Vave proved invaluable. Enhanced targeting arrays allowed the gunners to pick off key targets with pinpoint accuracy, while reinforced shields absorbed blow after blow. Finally, they reached the edge of the flagship's defensive perimeter. Lisa guided the ship into position, dodging volleys of energy fire as she lined up the shots. "Turrets locked," she announced. "Firing now." The Eclipse unleashed a barrage of concentrated blasts, obliterating several turrets in quick succession. Gaps began to form in the blockade, giving Lucas and his team a chance to move in. With a nod from Ryan, Lucas signaled the shuttle to launch, carrying the boarding party toward the heart of the enemy fleet. Inside the shuttle, tension crackled like static electricity. Each soldier checked their gear one last time, ensuring weapons were loaded and EMP charges primed. Lucas stood at the front, his jaw set in grim determination. "Remember the plan," he said, his voice low but firm. "Stick together, follow my lead, and don't hesitate. One wrong move, and we're dead." The shuttle docked with a dull thud, its magnetic clamps securing it to the flagship's hull. The boarding party disembarked, stepping into a dimly lit corridor pulsating with eerie blue light. The air was thick and humid, almost suffocating. Strange tendrils hung from the ceiling, writhing slightly as if alive. Every step echoed ominously, the sound reverberating through the metallic walls. "They know we're here," one of the soldiers whispered nervously. "Of course they do," Lucas replied. "That's why we hit hard and fast. Let's go." The team moved cautiously, their weapons raised as they navigated the labyrinthine structure. Automated defenses activated sporadically, forcing them to take cover behind twisted pillars and fallen debris. Despite the danger, they pressed onward, driven by the knowledge that failure wasn't an option. Meanwhile, back on the Eclipse, the crew continued to hold their own against the Karvak fleet. Sam worked tirelessly to stabilize the ship's systems, rerouting power and patching damaged circuits. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, even as sweat dripped down her brow. "Come on, baby," she muttered to herself, coaxing the engines back online after a particularly brutal hit. Emma remained vigilant, treating wounded crew members and offering words of encouragement. Though exhausted, she refused to slow down, knowing that every life saved mattered. "You're okay," she told a young engineer, clutching a bloodied arm. "Just hang in there. We're going to win this." On the bridge, Ryan maintained his focus, issuing commands and monitoring the progress of both the main battle and Lucas's team. His mind raced with possibilities and contingencies, but he forced himself to stay calm. Panic wouldn't help anyone. Then came the transmission from Lucas. "We've reached the core chamber," he reported, his voice tense. "It's heavily guarded, but we're moving in." Ryan clenched his fists, bracing for what came next. "Good luck," he said simply. Inside the core chamber, Lucas and his team faced a daunting sight. Rows of elite Karvak drones surrounded the central hub, their red eyes glowing brighter than ever. Beyond them loomed the core itself, pulsating mass of organic tissue fused with mechanical components. It radiated heat and energy, filling the room with a low hum that vibrated through their bones. "This is it," Lucas said, raising his weapon. "Let's end this." With a fierce shout, the team charged forward, unleashing a storm of EMP blasts and gunfire. The drones retaliated instantly, their movements swift and coordinated. The fight was brutal, each side refusing to yield. Sparks flew as metal clashed with metal, and the air grew thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burnt circuitry. One by one, the drones fell, their bodies collapsing into lifeless heaps. But the cost was high. Several soldiers lay injured or unconscious, their sacrifices paving the way for the final assault. Lucas reached the core, planting explosives along its surface. "Get out of here," he yelled to the remaining team members. "Now." They obeyed without question, retreating as fast as they could. Lucas stayed behind, ensuring the charges were set correctly. Sweat dripped down his face as he worked, his hands trembling slightly. Finally, satisfied, he turned to leave, but not before glancing back at the monstrous core one last time. "This is for Earth," he muttered, pressing the detonator. A massive explosion rocked the flagship, the shockwave rippling outward and engulfing the surrounding ships. The Karvak fleet faltered, their hive mind disrupted by the destruction of the core. On the Eclipse, the crew cheered as the enemy ships began to scatter, their synchronized movements replaced by confusion and disarray. Ryan exhaled deeply, relief washing over him. "We did it," he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else, but the victory was bittersweet. As the surviving crew gathered on the bridge, their faces bore the weight of loss. Lucas's sacrifice had ensured their survival, but the price had been steep. Humanity had proven its strength, but the scars of the battle would linger for a long time. Still, amid the grief, there was hope. The stars had trembled at humanity's arrival and, now, they witnessed its resilience. Whatever challenges lay ahead, the crew of the Eclipse knew they could face them together.